I know. I know you don't want to talk about replacing Jared Goff. So we're not gonna, but we do need to address the quarterback position. I would say in the Brad Holmes era, the one thing we have not addressed is our backup quarterback position. And it quite frankly didn't matter. 2 years ago, when we were 3-13-1, it didn't matter because we were probably going to lose anyway. So you may as well have a horrible backup. Like, why spend money on it? Last year, I don't think any of us thought we were ready to compete for playoffs necessarily. We definitely weren't ready to compete for a championship at the beginning of the year. So we still kind of punted on the backup quarterback position, and that's okay. But this upcoming year, coming off a 9-8 season, coming with expectations that are there of winning the division, making the playoffs, winning a playoff game, competing, heaven forbid, for a Super Bowl, right? We need a backup quarterback. I think about the Dallas Cowboys this year and how they played, 4 or 5 games with a backup quarterback. Maybe he's on this list or something like that. We have a team now that in an offensive system where we could win. And sometimes you lose your quarterback for 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, and you just want to tread water. You want a backup quarterback that can allow you to go 500 when they're gone, when your team usually would be better. So I found an article, and they talked about who are 5 backup quarterbacks that should interest the Lions for as a backup for Jared Goff. So let's take a look at it. And now, of course, we're getting this thing, but that's okay. So the first person we are going to look at is Joshua Dobbs. Dobbs was with the Lions in 2022 before being poached off the practice squad by the Titans. He's familiar with it. He's very intelligent. He's shown leadership ability. He's almost a 60% passer over 5 seasons. But here's what I will say. He has some mobility. He's familiar with the offense. I don't like that one. I just don't like it. So we're going to move into the next one, and you're going to see the name. But I just want to pause here for a second. I don't like the Josh Dobbs thing. I think that puts us right back into backup purgatory, where you're not in the promised land, you're not in heaven, but you're not in hell, and it's just like, come on. That's not where you want to be. That's just not where you want to be. So let's see what the next backup option could be. Is Andy Dalton done being a starter? He's 35. But he brings it, and he has proven wherever he goes that he can absolutely be a decent backup quarterback. He had a career high 67% of completion percentage last year, lowest interception rate since his last Pro Bowl. And yes, remember, Andy Dalton was a Pro Bowl quarterback. No, he is not a starting quarterback in this league. I get that. All right. He outperformed his $3 million deal in New Orleans, but he is an absolutely capable backup. So before you tell me you hate Andy Dalton and you remember watching him in Chicago and you saw the last years in Cincinnati, please remember this dude kept leading the Bengals to playoffs. And yes, it was a really good team around him, but he had great receivers that he was throwing to. He made Pro Bowls. He is a capable backup. Please remember that. He was a capable backup. Who do we have next? It is Drew Lock. And I'm just going to be dead honest with all of you. I'm going to be dead honest with you all. This is my favorite option. If the Seattle Seahawks are like, all right, we're done with him because we have found our starter, which they absolutely have, and they just think the experiment's done, this is a young guy. I have seen firsthand, we all have, what Ben Johnson and being in Detroit has done for Jared Goff. And Drew Lock could be that young quarterback who just hasn't been in the right position to succeed yet. So let's think about where he was. He was in Denver. And you're just like, no, Denver's a good position to succeed. They had some talent around him. They did. No. How did it go for Russell Wilson? And then he gets to Seattle. He gets beat out. And we're all like, oh, my goodness, this dude is done. This dude is done. But then all of a sudden you realize he got beat up by Geno Smith, who ended up making the Pro Bowl. So I like this one. I feel like this is an absolutely, honestly, a pretty good call. I think this is a pretty good call. So the next one we have here is Gardner Minshew. Oh, some Minshew magic. All right. We know he spent the last 2 years as Hurts backup. here's the thing about Minshew. Minshew can throw the ball. He is fairly accurate. He has the ability to do some good things with it, and he can put up some huge numbers, especially for a backup quarterback. But here's the other thing about Gardner Minshew. He turns the ball over. Like, he turns it over a lot. This year for the Eagles, I had Hurts as my starting quarterback for fantasy football. And when he went down, I had to either go Trevor Lawrence as my starting quarterback or Gardner Minshew. And I actually played Minshew first round of the playoffs. I know it was really unfortunate timing. And dude almost got me 30 points, but he also blew the game. Like, he lost the game for them with costly turnovers. And so they didn't win with him. So while I don't love this, I think in the right system, which Philly definitely was, and in Detroit, I think this is a guy who absolutely could be an effective backup. And the question we have to ask ourselves, is it time to spend $5 million on a backup quarterback? I think the answer has to be yes. If you're not going to draft one this year, you need to have a capable backup behind Jared Goff. And the last one is the guy who proved he could be a capable backup in Dallas, and that's Cooper Rush. I believe he's from Central Michigan. Yep, he is. Now I'm reading it. All right. And here's the thing. He has been the backup QB behind Dak Prescott with the Cowboys for the last 6 seasons. This would be awesome. And this is why I would love to draft a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round, or even 2nd round, and just have him as a backup for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years behind Goff. This might not be a bad idea. But I will also say, I don't think Cooper Rush is the answer for the Detroit Lions. I think Cooper Rush is showing exactly how important it is and why it's so good to have a backup quarterback that has been in a system for a long time. He has been in the Kellen Moore system for almost that entire time, I want to say. Kellen Moore's been there a while, at least at quarterback's coach and then as the offensive coordinator. So he was in that system a long time. He came in and they didn't have to change a crazy drastic play calling changes or anything like that. He knew the offense. Sure, he ran it different than Dak Prescott because he's more limited on certain things, but he knew the offense and he just played within the system. So whoever we bring in, whether it's Gardner Minshew, or, I mean, it could be anyone, right? As we look at this. And like I said, Gardner Minshew's not my favorite. Drew Lock is. And I know Drew Lock hasn't proved a thing. He hasn't proven a thing. Don't get mad at me for that. But if we could bring him in and just bring him in for 4 years, be like, you are our backup. This is who you are now. All right. You are a $4 million quarterback. This is who you are. And find a way to bring one of these guys in, Minshew or him, for an extended period of time, solidify the quarterback room, both as the starter and as the backup, so that next year we can go in with confidence, whether Goff's playing or whether Goff's not. And when you have a guy like Locke, I still think there's upside in when he was drafted. So if Goff starts not being the guy in 2-3 years, or you don't want to pay him $50 million in 2 years, but you have Locke under contract for another 2-3 years, maybe, just maybe, he's either the guy or a bridge to the guy. I'm just saying, it's a possibility. That's why I like it. Let me know your thoughts. Do any of those names interest you? Remember, we're talking backup quarterback here. So don't give me he's a garbage quarterback. Well, yeah, he's not a top 32 quarterback. None of them are. None of the 5 guys are top 32 quarterbacks. That's why we're trying to bring them in as a backup. And I just think it's time that we address that position. All right, we'll see you on the next one. Hit that subscribe button below. If you haven't become a member of our channel, do it. We got a bunch of cool perks. You can look those up under memberships. Great way to support the channel. But hey, we'll see you on the next one.